Welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into one of the most famous stars in the sky. What if I told you that a star you've seen with your own eyes is going to explode into a supernova visible from Earth? Before we get into it, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button because I'll be covering the most interesting facts about outer space that you won't hear anywhere else. Now, back to this interesting star we're talking about. It's called Betelgeuse, a red supergiant in the constellation Orion, and it's one of the brightest stars we can see with the naked eye. You've probably noticed it because it has this cool reddish hue that is unmistakable in the winter sky, and one of the first things your eyes are drawn to when you look up. That's because it is huge. Actually, it's massive compared to our sun. In fact, if you plopped Betelgeuse where our sun is, its outer layers would stretch past Mars, maybe even Jupiter. It's about 1,000 times larger in diameter than the sun. That's like comparing a beach ball to a pinhead. Even though Betelgeuse is so enormous, it doesn't weigh much more than the sun. It's about 10 to 20 times heavier, which is still pretty big, but its extreme size comes from how it's puffed up as it's nearing the end of its life. Now, as any runs out of fuel, it expands and cools down, becoming a red supergiant, but in other words, a dying star, bloated and running out of the energy it needs to keep from collapsing in on itself. This is what is beginning to happen to Betelgeuse. When it finally runs out of fuel, it's going to go out with a bang. It'll explode in a supernova, releasing more energy in just a few seconds than our sun will in its entire 10 billion year life. And when that happens, it'll briefly outshine an entire galaxy. This supernova will actually be visible from Earth, and it will probably be bright enough to see during the day. The only downside? It's still a few tens of thousands of years away, but if humans are alive then, they'll definitely notice. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might remember the Betelgeuse dimming event a few years ago. In 2019, this star just faded. It started losing its brightness, and everyone freaked out. Was it finally going supernova? Was it dying? Turns out, it wasn't quite the dramatic end we were hoping for. Astronomers think that Betelgeuse was just shedding a bunch of gas and dust, temporarily blocking our view. Or maybe it's just part of the star's natural cycles. Stars like Betelgeuse aren't exactly stable all the time. A star shedding gas appears to us like this. Basically, Betelgeuse is just being a little unpredictable, which makes it even more interesting to study. Betelgeuse is around 642 light-years away from Earth, which sounds pretty far. But in cosmic terms, it's actually considered pretty close. That's why we can study it in such detail. Thanks to powerful telescopes like Hubble and ALMA, we've been able to learn a ton about this star. Its size, its weird dimming behavior, and even its outer layers. So why should we care about Betelgeuse? Well, for one, studying stars like this helps us understand how massive stars evolve. We know that when they go supernova, they create heavier elements like iron, gold, and uranium, which get blasted across the universe and eventually form new stars, planets, and maybe even us. In a way, we're all made from the remnants of stars like Betelgeuse. Pretty cool, huh? Even though Betelgeuse is getting ready to go out in a blaze of glory, it's not quite there yet. But it still holds a special place in astronomy. Not only because it's one of the most studied stars in the sky, but because it's a great example of how stars go through their life cycles, from birth to death, and then a spectacular rebirth in the form of new elements scattered across the universe. Exploding star. So, next time you look up at Orion and see that red dot in the Orion's belt, just remember Betelgeuse isn't just another star. It's a ticking time bomb, and in only a few thousand years, a short time in the grand scheme of things, that'll be one of the next supernovas visible from Earth. When it explodes, it's going to change the night sky forever.